Hey all, this is Mark Vega, Run Long After 60. I'm glad you're here. If this is the first time you're here at the podcast, well, welcome. I'm so glad you've joined us. But if this isn't your first rodeo, well, you know how this goes. Every episode starts with me out on a run, not in a studio, not at a desk, but out moving. Today's guest is Jenny Hitchings. She's an elite athlete. And if this story resonates with you, you'll love to hear the tales she tells, the races she's been in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and visit all of your podcast platforms. We'd love to have you. Send in comments, share the content. We read every comment and we love to engage. And most of the guests on this podcast have come as suggestions from other guests, including Jenny. Okay, now Jenny. We didn't even scratch the surface, barely, of covering all of her races and her accomplishments. Oh wait, here's a snapshot. In her late 50s, 2 world records, New York and London, and then a world's best in Boston. Plus she's got 8 American records from the 5K through marathon. But that's not enough. In her 60s, she has a world record in Chicago, plus 8 more American records. USA Track and Field Hall of Fame. And Masters Long Distance Runner of the Year. But here's the thing. Those records are not really what the conversation is about. This is about what it feels like to carry that, to still feel the pressure, to still have anxiety, and to keep showing up, not just as a performer, but as a good, kind, grounded human being. Jenny is a true professional, and she's still in it. She's still competing. She is still evolving. Okay, I think that's it. You ready? I'm ready. I think it's time for Jenny Hitchings. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Welcome to another episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast, though today we could call it the Run Fast After 60 podcast. Our guest is Jenny Hitchings. Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
Really nice to see you. Where are you joining us from right out of the gate? Where are you from? Where are you coming
I am
from?
in Sacramento, California, up in an office above the garage. And kind of to be sort of funny, the only way I could any place I could put my computer was on my Peloton, so I'm sitting on my Peloton.
Oh, come on.
Just sitting. I'm not spinning at the same time. I'm just sitting.
Okay. Well, we'll pay attention. 30 minutes in, if all of a sudden I see a little rocking motion, I'm like, okay, Mark, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, same here. In 2019, I moved all of my companies to one location where I'm at now. And then a couple of months later, COVID happened and everybody shut down. So I got really lucky to move into a spot where everything's like control command center. So I'm grateful for that. Sometimes I look to the side, Jenny, because on the monitor has all your stats and I can't pretend like I've memorized them. It has nothing to do with age. It's just a lot of stats. So if I don't
know them either. I have my stats here also. So
you're like, oh, that sounds good. I'm like, yeah, well, that's
okay.
the job here. That's the job here. Clearly you're media savvy and you're getting more and more media savvy because you're running faster as you get older and everybody wants to hear about what do you mean age group? What, how'd you break that record? What? That's what they want to hear. So I'm looking through your race history this morning and really, what struck me is that not that you're just running marathons in the mid 2000s but it's when you're running marathons, every minute counts. So I see 2:58s and then a 3:02 and you're getting in your 40s and your 50s and consistently you're under 2:50. And then of 2023, of course, you The world says, who's this woman? Because you run 2:45 in London, 2:49 Chicago. And that's not just consistency, that's progression. And I don't think too many people understand aging in this particular sport. So let's start there. When did you realize you weren't just maintaining, but that you were getting better?
Well, I had run a 2:46 marathon in 2012. I was trying to qualify for the Marathon Olympic trials. And at that time, it was a 2:46. And I ran a 2:46:10. So sort of this bittersweet moment, of having a really nice PR and being close to, going to the Olympic trials and not quite making it. So I had run a 2:46, some years ago. But after that, there was a long time where I just sort of was sticking in the 250 range. And then I did a 2:49 at California International Marathon, some years later. I think I was, definitely in my 50s. And then from there, I ran a 2:45, and then I ran another 2:45 at Boston, basically the same exact time. I ran Boston 2:45, I'm sorry, and then London 2:45. And then I went on, and then I had just turned 60 and ran a 2:49 at Chicago. So, and that was in 2023. So, the fact is that I have had this in my past as far as, running some fast times. And then, yes, there was sort of some time in between there where I was just sort of stuck in this. I shouldn't say stuck. It's something you'd still be very proud of, but in this 2:51, 2:52 stage for the marathon, and never quite doing as well in the shorter distances because I never really trained for that. And even though people told me over and over, including coaches, as soon as you get that 5K down and that 10K down in those times, you're going to see your other times start to drop too, because you're going to start having that natural speed and turnover. And that's going to equate into the marathon because you have the endurance. I had the endurance. It was just sort of getting the leg turnover in there as well. And that sort of happened after 2018 when I started doing some shorter, faster stuff.
In the data says 2018 is when you had those 250s. Okay, 250, 250, 250. But when you're doing that, Jenny, that performance, though you might be in your head wanting to get back a little faster, a little faster, a little faster, but when that's happening, you're still each time first in your age group. The CIM, and then there's Mountains to Beach, and then there's CIM again, the New York City. I mean, you're being applauded for that finish and you're first in the age group, right? So,
right. To me, yes, I was always sort of first in my age group, no matter what races I was doing. And, sometimes even making a podium as a top masters in general for a lot of the races I did as well. So for me, that was something that I was proud of, is it just that I wasn't just running well for being, 55, 56 or 60. I was running well in general for anybody over the age of 40 and sometimes under 40. So I was proud of that accomplishment too.
okay, so you are absolutely aware of that.
Yeah,
no question, even though you had
yes.
other goals to keep running, continue to run faster.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, so yeah. Okay, I didn't mean. I'm going to dip backwards, I guess. Have you always been competitive? Like, do you use that word to describe yourself?
Yes. I can say that I've always been competitive, but never in athletics or sports growing up, and but competitive in other ways. I mean, I like to win at games, and I like to cook something the best, or have the best cookies, or um, you know, again, I like to win, and I like to do my best, but I was never very athletic or into sports growing up. That didn't really happen until really my late 30s, 40s, and then onward. But then the competitive part came on when I started doing well. And I think that's where sort of competitiveness feeds off of things, is when you start doing well and you start having accomplishments and you start beating people and you start making the podium, and then yeah, you get competitive because you know you're not just going out there anymore just to run the race or just to participate. Now I'm going out to win. Now I'm going out to be top in my age or to get a, top 3 podium or whatever the goal might be. So, yeah.
How old were you? I'm trying to, as you're talking and I'm listening, but I'm just zipping through. It's like, wait, 42, 41, 40, 40. So the one thing that anyone sees is like, well, okay, this athlete's been doing this a long time. This athlete is not just consistent. This athlete keeps showing up, keeps showing up. I think I saw in an interview with you, another interview where you said, yeah, in your 30s is when you kind of, I don't know if you used the word taking it seriously, but it was in your 30s when you're like, okay, this is a thing and I'm really into it. How old were you, do you think, when you realized, and that's what I was trying to find, when did you start taking a podium, or when during the running in your 30s did you like,
Um,
oh, well, okay, this is a thing. I got this. I'm going to do this.
I actually even think it was probably more late 30s, closer to 40. I was running since my early 20s, when I started just getting out there and run at UC Santa Barbara just because I liked running. And then, the competitiveness came because I'm competitive with myself, if you want to get back to being competitive, that when I was running, I would then try and, up my distance, or could I get this a little bit faster? But it was all for my own personal goals. And then my 30s were really about still just running for health and mental sanity. And like I had 2 little kids and we had moved to Sacramento. And it wasn't really until later 30s when I was a part of a running club up here and was starting to run with faster people and doing more races and learning a lot more about training that things sort of started to take off. And, I do a race and I would, again, get some kind of podium finish or start becoming first masters. And then that took a whole life on its own. Also, then when I got my own coach, really around 40, I'd say, and I got a coach, and then things sort of took off from there more.
Did you have a coach before that?
No, I didn't know what I was doing, to tell you the truth. And it changed my life running
But
with people
you were
who knew
getting
how to
faster.
run.
Okay, you were getting
Well,
faster, but you didn't know how it was happening?
Once I started doing different kinds of workouts, and I was actually listening to other people about how to train. I didn't know what intervals were, or mile or repeats, or doing progression runs or tempos. And once I started to learn how the different ways to run and to add speed into my workout or my schedule, that's what really helped. Because in the beginning, I was just running faster, or I would just always, a one pace wonder forever. I wasn't doing a workout per se. I was just trying to run as fast as I could, or whatever I could handle. And then you have to learn how to train better and smarter as we do get older. And if you want to actually have some of the accomplishments that I've had, you have to be smart at how you train. You have to know what you're doing.
So
And also, there's a little bit of genetics there. I got to tell you. I mean, I think I just didn't even realize that I was a good runner until I started running more. So,
I heard in the other interviews reference to other family members who are necessarily particularly athletic. Do you have any in your extended family now, as you've gotten older, and maybe your cousins could have like, oh yeah, I didn't know I was such a great blah 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 till I turned 40. Do you have any people in the family, extended family, where like, oh, they've discovered athletic related things as they get older?
no, and I have 5 siblings right now. We're all varying in ages because my father had remarried and had 2 boys that are actually my girl's age. So we run the gamut of ages, and because of that, the boys did sports earlier, and they still are great athletes, and my sisters are great athletes. But I'm the only one, and this is even including my father, my mother, my uncles, people. They all sort of knew their talent and their limitations from an earlier age than me. I figured it out a little bit later. Again, I was not the athletic one in the family. It's sort of a shocker to everyone. So,
Like, how did Jenny get that? Wait a minute.
And again, I think this also has to do with my age. I think that, again, with my brothers, not so much my sisters, but, they were doing sports early on. And my sisters were actually doing some sports, whether it was gymnastics or biking or dance or all these sort of things at an earlier age than me. I just didn't do that stuff early. So I late bloomer, I figured it out later.
When I
But
look
yes, my
at,
family is very athletic,
okay,
but I'm the only runner.
you're the only one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really impressive when I look at the stats, and the times are all so close for so long. It's really, when there's changes and improvements in a marathon time, it's minutes, right? And then when one of your runs is off, it's like 9 minutes off. You're like, oh, there's probably a story about that because it was so far off compared to how you've been. And
Right.
so as you started to get older, and when you look at the rankings, there's so many times where you finish first in the age group, as you said, like it's almost all the time. Let's go down a little teeny tangent here about other women runners your age doing about the same thing. At what point in time, how old are you? Are you in your 30s or 40s or 50s? How old are you when you sense that the marathon community, which is massive, right, compared to like trail and ultras, but how old were you when you realized, oh, the age group is going to stay with me, right? We're all the same. We're all in the same boat here. Was there ever a sense or a time when you're like, oh, okay, these women are going to be around just like I am?
Yeah. I think as we started to all approach 50, a lot of us were still around, but what happened was a lot of my peers and other people I just sort of know in the running community around the world, when they started to turn 50 or when menopause happened or just life got in the way of things or a lot of injuries came about, a lot of them dropped off. They some just stopped running, stopped caring about, having to get out there and train and do things, you know, fast or race or be competitive. They would just wanted to go run for the enjoyment of running and staying healthy. And so then there sort of became a smaller group of us that, you know, moved forward and was still doing pretty well. And then I'd say sort of around 55-ish, I can count how many women there are now around my age that are doing what I'm doing. And I do think a lot of it just has to do with burnout and injury and just wanting to do other things with their life, that it can be pretty time consuming.
Right.
So, and now I see a whole group of women approaching my age or into their 50s that are doing very, very well. And I think it's also because this women and running has become such a big thing and being competitive. And there's so many women out there now taking it seriously and great, and that they're sort of aging up and still doing very well. And it'll be interesting to see if these 2:30 marathon women who are early 40s are still holding on, at 50, 55, 60, which they should if they care, if they keep their bodies healthy,
There's
or
certainly
want
more
it.
coverage, more media awareness, more coverage. My friend, a bankruptcy lawyer and marathoner who's now 70, so she's in the 70 to 74 age group, marathoner she says, well, Mark, there's attrition. That's what happens, right? So there's fewer of us. I'm like, well,
Right.
you're already breathing rarefied air, Leslie, because you're so fast. And this applies to you too. Absolutely, Jenny. And so you have this awareness, I suppose, of 60 to 64, right? That's where that's the spot you're in now. Then there's going to be 65
Yes.
to 69, 70 to
Right.
74. So you're right in the middle of that age group right now, right? You're right in the
Yeah.
middle. You're at 62 right now as we record,
Right.
right? Okay.
And yeah, I'm 62, and I think what you're sort of saying is true because of this attrition and how many of us are there and really training hard and have the ability and we're healthy and all these things that some of us can just go out and run and we could win our age group. It's just,
Right.
I mean, I know women in their 70s that she'll go run a marathon and yeah, she'll get a world record.
Right.
Just so
That's, I think,
anyway.
I'm not sure. I'm just me, but I'm guessing in 2023, everybody wants coverage. They want to get the story. And and we're in the marathon culture, speed is speed. That's the point. It's a distance and you run it fast. And the point is to be as fast as you can. And we can break down age categories, et cetera, et cetera. But my gut says, or my question is, when it happened, when London then Chicago happens, what kind of media attention did you get? And had you you've been running so fast for so long and have accolades for years. After 2023, did you feel an uptick of media coverage of you compared
Yes.
to the past?
Yeah. Well, also, again, like I said, I did Boston in 2021. It's when they did the Boston Marathon, and it was in October. Instead, they did an October one because it was right after COVID and all
Yep.
that. And I did, like I said, a 2:45:32 or something, basically
Yep.
almost
Chip
what I
time,
did at London.
2:45:32. Yep. Yep. Yep.
And yeah, that was still a world's best, but Boston course isn't considered, you can't get a record on that course. So it was a world best. So I was able to sort of carry that time or what I was doing, still for a couple more years. But that didn't get quite as much, even though that was a world best, as much recognition as when I did London. And then Chicago actually
Chicago.
got me even more recognition. And what's funny, that was only 6 months later or something. So that wasn't a huge surprise. The surprise was I was injured right before it and that I came back and was able to run a 2:49. That was my surprise. But it was no surprise that 6 months later, even though I was now 60, that I could run that time. And it was, 4 minutes slower than the 2:45. So it's not like I went and, grinded out another 2:45. So, but that one got me a lot of recognition, and some it's really great recognition and positive, and you have also the people out there where it's not so great and not so nice. It just, when you're out there, you want it, and at the same time you sort of push it away because you never know, what you're going to get or what somebody's going to say or how somebody's going to write the story about you in a way that I would do it.
Well, I
So
certainly don't want to amplify those stories, but I think having you having you say what you just said is probably pretty important. So no matter the level of media coverage, there's always going to be some angle that's just not kind with no purpose other than not about Jenny. Whatever that story was, it's not really about you at all, right? Maybe they never
right. And
are.
sometimes it's not even about running.
Right.
Whatever they're like, it's like, what does this have to do with me or running or, like, it's
Right.
just, that out.
Yeah. And
So.
I didn't want to, this also caught my attention, but we don't need to talk about it so specific other than to celebrate you and say it out loud to whoever might be watching, listening to this, is that you have a handful of marathons performances that were separated with just a couple of months, like not much long at all. And you were in this within the same minute. So you're at 2:46, same, do it again. That was the Boston, and then the CIM less than 2 months later, 2:46. So you've got a bunch of those groupings. And so that's a level of fitness that is that's maybe, well, let me ask the question. Is that unique to marathon runners, to elite marathon runners,
Um,
that you have to
well,
keep that
again,
performance?
I do more than the marathon, but I don't think it's unique, as I think that people work off, their last race or what kind of shape they're in. I mean, that's what you're doing. It sort of snowballs in some ways, in a good way. And an example of this is sort of the start of when this in 2018, where everything started to take off for me, is I ran a 6 mile race, which you might know, wharf to wharf in Santa Cruz. It was a 6 mile race, and I popped in and I was running well. I was doing some good workouts, but I had the fastest time I've ever had. And I think I was just about to turn 55. And, it was this fast time where I realized, wow, like if I ran this fast, I could run slower than this right now in a 5K and get an American record for being 55, you know. So I signed up for a 5K here in Sacramento that would be record eligible. And I did it. And broke the American record. And then I thought, okay, now I can do a 10K and even go a teeny bit slower for 6 miles, and then a 10 miler, and then a half marathon. And it just snowballed because my times, because of what I did at that 6 miler and the kind of shape I was in,
Right.
I was able to just work upon each one of those races. And in my head, it felt more secure knowing, okay, and I can even go a little bit slower at this distance. I don't have to run the 10K, the half marathon, all this at that 5K pace. So that's why I would say that some of these things, when people's times maybe can improve or stay the same for a certain period of time, is they're working off their fitness. They're really fit. I was very fit. And then we get injured and something happens. But
Right.
so you see these, like, this climbing, and then you see, this steady growth, and then you see a plummet because, yeah, we get hurt or we burn out or we need a break, something like that.
When did you first get a coach? Was it 2000?
I had my first coach around 40 years old.
Okay.
His name was, I had my first coach, Brett, and he was in Arizona. And then when we parted ways, I did not, and even though I'm a coach too and was doing some coaching, I can't coach myself. I don't believe many people can. So I hired Jenny Spangler, who is an Olympic marathoner in her own right, and we're the same age. And she was a 2:29 marathoner. And so I knew she knew about women, how we age, just running, racing, training. And so I've been with her now for, I want to say, at least 7 years.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
more.
Okay. So were your training blocks to go from marathon to marathon to maintain a level of fitness? Did you sign up for the 5Ks and the 10Ks and the other distances for this purpose of maintaining, knowing you could also get a podium or whatever? But it was intentional, deliberate, right? You're going to keep racing so that you can maintain some level of fitness?
Well, that started again after 2018, where I realized that these times and distances build upon each other. Then I did start doing more shorter distances and races and trying to add that into my training. I really don't like the 5K. I'm very on the fence about the 10K. I like to distance race, but I also think sometimes that 5K, 10K training is nice because I'm just not pounding out the miles, or, the marathon's really time consuming to do, well in. So the shorter distances were sort of key. And I also think that during COVID, when we were all doing a bunch of virtual races or running, like, a lot of people just stopped running, didn't have any interest, didn't get out there. But for me, it was, okay, this is the one thing I can do. I can go outside. And I was just doing a lot of, like, some virtual races and a lot of 5K, 10K type pace work, because there were no marathons to train for. So just was really keeping up my speed during that time.
And all the listings, for the most part, for that page, 2018 through, is your first place, as you said earlier, like first place in your age group. You just dominated for a long, long time, including through that period of time. Have you ever run or trained on a treadmill?
It's a necessary evil. So yes, I never for a long cycle or for a certain amount of time, but only when I needed to. It's too cold, it's too hot. Just again, I'm not in a place where I could go for a long run, so it's the treadmill, but never consistently. And I do coach some people who, especially if they're living back east right now, their only option was to train for a marathon or something on the treadmill, and it works for them, but it doesn't really translate to running all the time on the roads. So I don't think.
Yeah, that sounds right. Have you tested out or tried newer types of treadmills? Like, seems like in the last 4 years they've got they're different. The bed, the running pads are different. Everything's a little different.
Well, the best treadmill I've been on so far lately is just the Peloton treadmill. I thought it was the greatest. I mean, it was really nice. And that's probably the newest model I've ever run on. And again, I haven't been on a treadmill at this point in a really long time, because if I have to cross train actually, or if I am stuck inside, I think I'd rather get on my spin bike, or, do the elliptigo, or do just something different. Why not?
Yes, even for an athlete like me, who's a very different kind of category, when I jump on the bike and try like once a week, and I hated the bike. It was uncomfortable. Like, this is dumb. I don't like it. Stationary, like what? I don't want this. But I tried it and trusted it. And sure enough, now I can feel the difference. It contributes something very different to the workout and to the body. And so I do look forward to it. I don't, I'm not, jonesing for it for more than when I need to
No.
on the plan, but I like it.
But I'd say too, like, right before I did Berlin in 2025, and I had just come off fracturing my foot, and so when I was healing the foot, and I was doing tons of Peloton. It's not like you can just do nothing. In my mind,
Right.
I still had to keep my endurance. I still had to, work out almost the same amount of time that I would be running. So and it's even, I'm actually injured, just coming off of a surgery right now. And during this time, I'm on this Peloton, 70, 80 minutes every time I get on, 4 times a week. And I road ride with my husband for, 2 hours. And, and again, I have an elliptigo, so, and all of that really helps me stay in shape. Does it sometimes, again, translate to running a fast marathon or race? No, I'm going to have to start that training soon, whenever. But so I think all those things, the bike, outside, inside, or any kind of equipment has its purpose. But no, I never would do it singularly to train unless I had to.
Right, unless it was mandated. I tried it just
Mhm.
in a human guinea pig experiment in 2022. It was COVID times, right? But I bought a really good treadmill, and then just to see how it would work, I trained exclusively and solely on the treadmill to do New York 2022. And
Mhm.
and it was fun, but I think it was fun just so that I could, and halfway through, there was no reason, no point to do it really, except I wanted to be able to say, I only train on the treadmill. I don't think it really
Well, talk
contributed.
about building mental toughness.
Right, right.
you
Well,
know.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but when my family heard about it, they're like, "Dad, isn't it getting boring?" I was like, "Well, I know it has a screen." I'm like, "What kind of screen?" "Well, workout programs." And it's like, "Well, let me see what you're talking
yeah.
about." So they saw that, but then they saw that I'd elevated this giant big screen TV. I elevated it by about 2 feet so I could run and still, watch a movie. And Dad, that's yeah, okay. Boy,
Well,
you
you
real
got to, I mean, or you listen to things. I
right,
mean,
right, right.
I don't listen to music, or I don't listen to stuff when I run. But if I'm on the bike, or I'm on a treadmill, I have to plug into something, um, because it's not like there's anything else really to look at. I just can't get into that mindset of just me and the treadmill.
Yeah.
But
Same. So
you know,
when you're on the street, you're just hyper aware, no music, no nothing when you're out training around, right?
yes, yeah. I've never been. I mean, that's never say never. I sometimes, if I just really would rather have company, or and there's no company, or it's just
Right.
that kind of day, yeah, I might listen to something. And I don't know. I just remember once being on the treadmill training for something, and at the gym, and no one had ever seen anyone on the treadmill for as long as I was when I actually had to take like 2 gels. And I remember people like, what is that? Like, oh, they'd never seen anyone like, taking, yeah, goose
Right.
and whatever that stuff. But, you got to still, fuel if you're going that far.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
Sometimes when I get up there, and I'm sure this is exactly what happened. You're on at it if you're at a gym facility and you're up there doing your thing, and you're not really paying attention, but you can tell people are cycling in and out of that. So what are they getting on the treadmill for 10 minutes? I don't know what they're doing, but
yeah,
they're in
right,
and out,
right,
in and out, in and out, in and
right.
out, in and out.
I always wonder that. That's why sometimes I love to go to the gym just to people watch every once in a while. I was like, what's everyone doing here? Because it doesn't look like much
Yeah, right.
sometimes.
Same. I
So,
signed up right now. I signed up for an event I have coming up in a month, and so a couple of months ago, I signed up at the gym for the purpose of getting on one particular type of treadmill they have that does incline, a very specific kind of incline. And when I visit, it's busy at nighttime. And so there's all the treadmills are loaded up, but they're all, I don't know what they're doing, but anyway, they're doing a treadmill workout. And then once a number of weeks ago, I jumped in and I got a spot, and there was a guy right next to me. His treadmill's ramped way up and he's dialed in. He's got headsets and he's not talking to anybody. So I got on the thing and I pushed my buttons, and sure enough, it was like going to the same place he was. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So we different physical profiles and vibe, right? But we were doing the same thing. So I'm like, okay, that's good. And I get exhausted and he leaves, whatever. And then I leave and I'm on the same run about 3 miles later. And sure enough, there's a dude and I pass a dude. I'm like, oh, dude, you really got it. So I kind of like the small universe of things when we do something and think it's relatively unique. And then sure enough, somebody else doing the same thing. Very
Well,
different
if you were
vibe,
me,
different
you'd be
person.
getting competitive with the person next to you on the treadmill. Like we're like looking over, seeing what they're doing, what level.
Yeah, he was up as far. He was like a backpack. He was rucksacking it, and I had my ultra vest. It was a long thing I was doing, so I had my gear on. But this guy's got a rucksack, and he's like, all that. But I won't lie, Jenny. Now that you're saying it, I think I passed him. Whenever I was running, I was just keep going, and I think I shouted to him, and I
As you should. So,
So, oh man, how long have you been? Do you still coach people, and how long have you been coaching athletes?
it's been about probably 15 years I've been started coaching, and then right now I have about 16 athletes I coach, and it's all remote. It's nothing. I have some people obviously locally in Sacramento, but I don't run with them or get together. We talk goals. I write their schedules, and we're in constant communication. And so, and I've never had a coach like I said, either that lived near me. It's always been remote. So yeah, I just help them out with that. And some of them I've had for years and years and years. And that's sort of something I want. I don't like to coach people who just have a bucket list, because sometimes it takes just that long to get to know somebody. And I like the longevity of it. And so, yeah, I'd say about 15 years I've been coaching. And I also coach little kids. I have a youth running group I do on Thursdays for elementary.
Oh,
And then I
what's
coach.
what's that about? What does that mean for elementary school kids? I love that. Gosh, a real coach. They're like, oh, we have a coach. Oh, we have Coach Jenny is here.
No, it's there's like first grade to sixth grade, and once a week. And it used to be twice a week, but the kids just have too many other sports and things going on. So I just meet it can go from 22 to sometimes I've had 30 kids, and have a helper, and I take them off campus, because we can, like, off campus, like it's college, but I take them away from the school, and we have a little bike path near us, and I just teach them about running, a little bit about form. We do drills, and we work on some speed and distance. And so I just, that's like a 4 or 5 month gig on Thursdays or something. And what's funny is when then they leave this school, some of them come on to the middle school where I'm the cross country coach, and then they join my cross country team. So I get to sort of see them follow all the way through. And then all of a sudden, since I don't do high school, but I see them at meets and in high school. And it's just so funny, as high schoolers or even college, they're coming up to me, hey, Coach Jen. I'm like, who are you? Like you start not to recognize them anymore. But yeah, and nothing makes you feel old than when these little kids all of a sudden are,
well, come on though,
adults.
Jen, they're still calling you Coach Jen, and you're still bringing it. So,
yeah,
it feels good though, right? So then they call you out and they've grown, and
yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Anyway, I love working with the little kids. And as I go through my own running process and what I want to do as I get older and hope for in my future, one of it is to continue coaching and being able to be this role model, or help be a role for these kids, and even my adults that I coach as well. That is a part of running that I hope I'll never have to give up. So
with that, it sounds like, and would you embrace this? You become a more complete runner over time, not just faster. It's not just more efficient. It's more experienced.
Yeah, I mean, and as we would say, that comes with age. It comes with, um, growth and with, basic successes and failures. It comes with, um, the people who I surround myself with, as far as other runners and athletes and my friends who don't run, just sort of having a more wide range group of people that I enjoy being around and teach me other things, So it's, I think as I've gotten some older and with the experience just comes from, again, being a little bit more well-rounded and learning from every single one of the experiences I have. And that's probably what keeps bringing me back to marathon after marathon, is that you can learn something from every single one of them. Even if you have a world record, there was still something I could have learned from that. So, uh,
What's the last thing you learned in that regard? The very last thing you're like, oh, that's new.
that at my age and how many I've done, that I don't fuel enough, that I need to work on still getting more fuel in during these races, that, as even if I don't want it or think I want it, I need it. And I think that would have carried me over in a lot of different ways, even if it meant, if I was cramping up or at the end, just, feeling so fatigued and not having quite the energy I wanted. So even at, again, the world records, I did it, but I know I could add a little bit more energy or felt a little bit better at different times in the race had I taken a few more gels or had, fuel on a water station, but that's hard to do too. So
Uh, uh,
fueling.
It's hard to express right now how excited I am that that was your answer.
Oh,
I never would have expected. And that's why it's so fascinating. So all the races, all the runs, all the time, all the energy, all the everything. And when it's really reminding, when you're going back to fundamentals, I suppose, and that's kind of what that is. Um, okay, so now fueling is a little different. The the products that you would have been fueling yourself with when you started 30 years ago, different than today.
methane.
So talk.
What is
Oh,
it? Yeah.
okay, quite a difference. Yeah. Well, we had water, right? So talk about
Yeah.
that. So that the fact that fueling was the last issue. Talk about the arc of your understanding and experience with fueling over time.
Well, I think a lot of it too is because, yes, the gels are getting better and there's more types of things we can take in while we're running that are more digestible. And again, if you carry a water bottle, there's stuff you can put in your bottle. And that's been around, and they're good and they have some good calories and carbohydrate, everything that's in them. I'm not a scientist. I don't know exactly what's in the stuff, but what's come out more and more is that maybe one gel every 45, 50 minutes is not enough. And I always just was following protocol. Okay, it's 45 minutes, I take a gel. Or, oh, I had oatmeal and something in the morning. I'm good till mile 13. I don't need to take anything in because I feel fine. And then you don't feel fine. And so I think, again, at the last one at London or Chicago probably it, you just start to realize, okay, the gels are good. And I take the Martin gels, but I probably, according to what people are telling me and what I'm listening to in the science, need to be taking 5 or 6 gels, for the energy I'm putting into these races. So I think that was, and I'll also say along with that one too is because I've been pretty bad my whole running career about strength training with my
Mm.
legs, my full body. And so I do think too, as I've gotten older, that the strength training will also really help me. So I'm working on that a little bit as well. It really helps being injured to kind of do more strength stuff too, because that's just, what else can I do? So
Right. Can we go back for a second? What is that? How do you talk? How does your brain work and tell your body that after all these years, I've dialed in one gel an hour, good to go, or however many miles, one jet? And how do you kind of comprehend, like, okay, I'm going to do exactly the same but 5 times as much. Like, how do you do that? You know what I
Well,
mean?
you can't just go do that, and I think that, and I was probably someone who did it more on mileage than times, that take a gel every 7 miles, So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I was only taking 3, maybe 3.5 gels, so that's not enough. And sometimes too, just because, yeah, I think I can't stomach it. But anyway, you can't just go do it. You have to start training with it. So on my long runs and doing some workouts, sometimes I would do 14, 15 miles, like, oh, I don't need a gel, I'm good. Or I might take one at 13 miles for like 2 more to go. And so you have to start figuring that stuff up in training. So I was, you know, when I was getting ready to do Tokyo, just started taking more gels, in the training process. And then I sort of had a disastrous finish at Tokyo anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I did try and practice it in my runs. You have to do that.
But did your fueling have any impact negatively on whatever your performance was at Tokyo, or was that
Maybe
fueling a
not
part
the
of it?
fueling. It was a hot day. It was more, again, and the fueling along that goes with it is hydrating,
Sodium,
water.
yeah.
And I did not get enough water. I think I maybe through the whole marathon got in half a cup, 3/4 a cup of water, and it was a
Oh,
hot day last year, and just not enough water. And a lot of that was the aid station, or not just getting enough in from my cups. And back to the training thing, yes. Should I practice drinking more? I do, but I don't carry a water bottle when I run. So I bank on stopping at, water fountains, and that's something that has to be worked on. If I'm not going to drink enough at the water fountains, then I need to start getting some water in and hydrating with, a bottle, you know, even though I won't carry that in the marathon, just working on water intake or electrolytes. Yeah.
have you ever carried a bottle?
Only when I do trail running, no, but on a race, never. And that's because, okay, this sounds bad too, but here's where I'm lucky as well, because I'm usually at the front of the pack, or I start right up at the line. Getting to the water stations isn't as hard for me as if you are in the middle or towards the back, where it's like super crowded and you're sliding on everyone's cups and you can't get there. So to me, I don't have to always carry a bottle, because, and sometimes I've even able to have my own bottles on tables at some races,
Uh-huh.
if I can find it and grab it, but and sip on that for a while. But because I can get to the stations normally, and just try and drink something at every station, that's been helpful. Why I don't carry bottles. It's just a matter of whether I do it or not, and some of us are good out there too. Like some guy might have a bottle and he's about to chuck it because he doesn't need it anymore, and he'll give it to me to take a sip off of, and then and then I'll throw it. We can share out there too sometimes. So,
How, how do you advise your clients, your athletes about fueling and hydration?
um, again, because I don't usually do the science part of the fueling aspect. I don't tell them exactly what to take, but I'll tell them to work on taking the fuel at certain times, and if they feel they need more, to start listening to their own body, and don't take a gel or drink like when all of a sudden you're like too thirsty, or you're already feeling bonky or hungry, like you're almost it's too late. So stay on top of it is what I try and do, and tell them to, even if you think it's going to be a while before you take a gel when you first start the race, take your gel before you start. Start it off with a gel. If they are someone who carries a hydration pack or a bottle and that's what they do, then that's what they do. And I'm not going to tell somebody how to, whether to run with or without water, but most don't. And I just at least say to them, whether you want that water or not, stop at every aid station and at least get a couple sips in. Just stop, even if it's cold out, just get some water in at every aid station. And I also say to them, when there's 2 aid stations on the left and the right, go left, because most people go right. So you can maybe get the water a little easier. So,
Right. That's experience right there. That's a little bit of
mhm.
time-honored wisdom after a lot of experiences out there.
So
you mentioned trails a couple times, and I know, so let's talk about the formats. You've done 5Ks, 10Ks, but that's really prepping for the road. So talk a little bit about trails and your relationship with trail running. And yeah, talk about that.
Uh, Well, I went through a stage of trail running. I can't say I've been on the trails lately, but after I tried qualifying for the trials in 2012 and that didn't happen for me, I tried it another time right after that. I tried at California International Marathon, and there was one more race I could try and qualify before it was too late and you'd miss
Okay.
the window. And so I quickly turned it over and went to Huntsville, Alabama, and did a marathon there. And it just wasn't happening. But I still ran a 250 and won the race. And so that was kind of fun, breaking the tape. I think it was one of the first marathons that I won. And but after that, I just was fried, and I was sick of road running. I was sick of trying, and I just wanted something different. So I hit the trails for a while, and doing a lot of 30Ks. I did 150K, and but just getting out there. I had a lot of trail running friends, and I loved getting out there once, twice a week. They're kind of far from me, so they were always a drive to get to really good trail systems. And but here in Sacramento, all I have to do is drive a half an hour towards Tahoe, and there's some great, trails. And I loved it, and I did really well on the trails as well. And then I don't know what happened. I went back to roads again, and maybe some of it had to do with that I took some falls on the trail as well, and I was just becoming a little bit more timid about it.
Okay.
Because one, I trip over a little root that I thought was for sure an enormous log, there's like and I would, just destroy my legs, or I would hurt my hip. And it was just like, I started, I think, to feel a little timid about it. And so I don't know what the process was. I don't remember that. I just basically went back to road running. I mean, I never completely gave up the roads, but pretty much was only trails. And then I probably did a race here or something and then did well and decided, what, I'm going to start focusing on the roads again.
Right.
And so, yeah, I haven't done much trail stuff unless it's for fun and, going out with friends.
It looks like in your 40s, mid 40s, late 40s, up through your 52, 53, there was that period of time where, and you were crushing it on the trails. You were first in your age group almost all the time, a couple of seconds and thirds. That's pretty impressive. Went to Jed Smith a couple of times, and Woodside and Dirty Secret Trail Run. What a great name.
Wow. You have everything there, don't you? Gosh.
Well, and I really, honestly, when I look back at posts, here's what's going to happen, Jenny. I know it because I'm listening to you as you unfold the story of your story on the trails. And I'm looking to the side where I see all the trails. So you got 30 races up on Ultra Sign Up, just trails alone. Most of the marathon history I've got, but I don't have everything, and I don't have your 5Ks and 10Ks. So the story is, you're getting older, but you're getting more efficient, more complete. I guess that's where I started with. You really are a more complete runner. And I don't think I've ever talked to someone yet who ends up showing up first place in their age group for all these trail races and then say, okay, I scratched that itch and now I'm going off somewhere else. So you haven't done a trail race, at least from here anyway. It looks like you haven't done a trail race for, I don't know, 10 years, a while, right?
Yeah. And I think, like, again, the trails aren't as accessible. They're not as easy to get to. And I think I just kind of got burnt out on that too, of just how it wasn't easy to get to the trails. And then some of the people I was running with started not running as many. I don't remember exactly what the whole process of kind of going back to roads. But like I said, I think a lot had to do with sort of just a timid factor of falling and tripping, and which is silly because that's what people like about it too. But as we know, as we get older, which I don't always like to have these kinds of excuses, but one fall, one trip, and that can put me out for a long time. It's harder to heal, So
sure. And the story says in this 2017 is kind of when the trails end, but if that's when trails ended, and 2018 is when you just went on a tear on the roads. Right. I mean, it's all a good, consistent story. And I knock on wood, I don't remember, maybe I just put it out of my memory, but I don't remember having a bad fall yet on the trails.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
where like, I feel like lots of times I catch myself and I almost, went off the side of the mountain or whatever. That's happened a couple times, but I never full face planted or anything like that yet. But
The
that could,
joke of it is that I've had probably worse falls or trips just running my dog around the park and tripping over her leash, and that and doing like a Superman slide on the road,
oh
like that,
God.
so, but, so I'm not saying it's only trails that, that stuff happens, but, you know, and again, I was probably a better runner up the hills of trails than down the hill because I'd break a lot or be, again, a little more afraid of tripping, I guess. I don't know, or maybe I just didn't enjoy it as much. That could happen too. So, um,
When you
anyway.
train now, do you train with friends? Do you train with people on the roads, or are
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I'm part of I've switched some teams over the years, but for the last probably 10 years, I guess, I run with Sacramento Running Association, which we call SRA. So SRA Elite Team. And, there's lots of us on the team and we have group workouts all the time, whether I go join a group workout sometimes, but I definitely have a group um, of people that I'll run either just with one of them or a couple of them. And what I love about it too is that the team or my friends, range from 25 to, 70. So, um, and what's funny is my friend Jacob Nur, who's someone you might want to also contact to be on this podcast. He now has like all the world records, it seems like, for 70 years old. And he's not slowing down. I mean, you can run with a 70-year-old and he's faster than a lot of us. So, and, it keeps us young too, running with the younger people. And talking to them and keeping up to date on things. So, but yeah, I do run with friends and I run a lot alone too. And I sometimes think I have some of my best workouts when I do run alone. Sometimes I don't want the pressure of a group or running a workout with someone. I just like to kind of go and do my own thing because I don't like having to keep up with someone, even though you're
Hmm.
doing a race. But, uh, so I can get I for sure get race anxiety. I'm a very anxious person before a race to the point it sometimes can be debilitating. And in that same note, I can be anxious before workouts too, knowing they're going to be hard. So sometimes I just like to go, knock them out by myself.
When's the last race you remember having so many butterflies in your stomach, or however you describe it? When's the last race you ran where you remember the start line and was just so antsy about it?
Well, Mark, it's every single freaking race. So the last
Oh,
one would be Tokyo, I guess. Was that the last race I did? Or it doesn't matter. It could be a local 5K, it could be a world championship marathon. And do I just get nervous that morning? No, I get nervous 1 to 5 days ahead of time. Like it's and I think, and this becomes also part of the competitiveness because I am competitive, because I do want to do well, because I am a bit afraid of failure, whatever that means. I put a lot of pressure on myself and it doesn't matter. Even if I'm just going to go out and just participate, I still get nervous because I do want to do well. And I sometimes think there's no such thing for me as just participating anymore. And that's the blessing and the curse of doing what I do and being competitive and having all these American records and world records is because, uh, I don't want to do less than those times. I like to still go in and prove I can still do those times or that it wasn't a fluke or um I don't want people to think, "Oh, what? She just ran this. She's slowing down now." Like it's like I don't know. There's a lot of pressure in my own head from the outside world, but I'd say mainly I do it to myself. It's self-induced pressure. And when I go out, even though I have the world record, even though I have all the American records, and for a lot of the distances, for 55 all the way up to where I am now, I'm still chasing my own records. Like it's like I can't just go say, "Oh, okay, I'll go try and run this time." Like, no, I want to do better than my record, and that gets really tiring. And that's what sort of, if anything tires me out right now is chasing my own shadow. So
How do you, okay, well
anyway, that
stated.
was a lot. That was a lot to digest there.
No, yeah, I understand the words you're saying. That I understand. But how do you, okay, how do you deal with it? How do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of Jenny when Jen's putting that, it's 5 days to go. I know it's just a 10K or it's just a half marathon, but blah, blah. So how do you take care of yourself? You know it's setting in. You know the anxiety is coming. You know it. And you've been living with
I
it for
drink
decades.
lots of Cabernet. No, I mean, like, yeah. And in all honesty, if I'm really stressed, that glass of wine, or if I, whatever, that's okay with me. I've never been someone who's cut out everything, so I've always enjoyed my wine or martini here and there. Uh, but yeah, it's really hard. I've talked to sports psychologists before. I've, had to have some next honest to goodness talks with people about how getting into the right headspace, or what is it about these things that make me so anxious. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, I've read a lot of books, and I don't know, sometimes what it all just kind of comes down to is me myself taking these deep breaths and saying, does it really matter? And so what if you don't do this? And so what if you don't accomplish that goal or go this fast? Nobody cares. No one's going to judge me on that. And
Mm.
I just have to start letting go that I'm performing for sometimes other people or for the wrong reasons, for um, because I like the acknowledgement afterwards, and start realizing, why am I doing this? And once I start thinking in terms about that and letting myself off the hook, I can, start taking some deep breaths. But it's hard. And overall, I really do not let myself be anxious free until that gun goes off.
Okay.
And
Okay.
sometimes, also it's the logistics. I get really anxious about, like, New York, the logistics of getting to that start line, how getting up at 4 in the morning, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do that, and when am I going to eat? Like, and again, I've done this a million times, but because I'm not an early morning runner, those early morning things and the logistics of getting to a start can stress me out. And again, I've been lucky about how I get to the start and having private tents and all these things, but I sort of wish, I love it when my hotel is right there at the start line. That's always the best because I don't have to worry so much about that stuff. So
Yes.
anyway.
Yes, I had a runner last week saying that I asked him what his favorite race was, and he said it, and I said, "Oh, why?" And he says, "'Cause the hotel is right at the start and finish line. He's no logistics." I go, "Oh, okay,
Exactly. You got to go to
okay,
the bathroom. You could just do that, and then you come on down and start
right
your
there."
warm up or whatever it is. So anyway. But I mean, I'm sure that's less stressful for everybody. Not like anyone loves getting up at 4 in the morning and taking a shuttle to a start wherever it
Yeah,
is.
shuttle to the
So
ferry, to the line, to the blah, to the la 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 la. Yeah,
yeah. So
how about this? When I saw you and I thought, wow, could I really speak to Jenny Hitchings? Could I do that? And as I was asking myself that question, I was saying, well, why? Sometimes I feel that when I talk to people who are older, almost always there's a big chunk of people who haven't actually started. They might have run in high school. Maybe they ran in college, but they haven't. And they know they're getting older and they maybe know that sarcopenia is real. We get less strong. We start losing our capabilities. So I hope someone hears this and is looking at you in the eyeball when you're saying, I'm anxious. I know I'm anxious. I'm going to try to deal with it. So talk to this person. They haven't turned 60 yet. They're like 59 and they've been telling people for a couple of years they're 59. They're going to hit 60. They really haven't been exercising for a while, or they haven't been running, but they used to run. Can you
mhm.
tell them, give them a little, like a little, either whether this is Coach Jen or this is the elite athlete speaking to us, like what kind of, little nudge, encouragement could you give them about starting?
I guess some of the stuff with aging and getting older, and it's no, again, nobody really wants to get older, and we all, or not we all, I shouldn't say that, but I have a hard time with the whole aging aspect myself, about things. But it's important, I would say, that we're going to age. You are going to turn 60, you are, so, or however old it's going to be, and that we need to age with grace. We need to age gracefully. And in order to do that, you have to, you know, kind of enjoy the process that you're going to go through as you age. And if that means starting to go for a run, and that means starting with your walk, shuffle, or then into a jog, or then into, whatever it is, and just doing the best you can with what feels the best for your body, do it, because, uh, the mobility, the leg strength, again, yeah, keeping moving, the mindset, the people you meet, that's what's going to keep us, younger and living longer at heart. I mean, aside from injury and, all these other things that might happen, or sickness, it's something you can do. We can do it. And nobody says you have to be like me or like so and so, but you go out and you be the best possible you, and just enjoy the process, because we're not going to go backwards. And I think I have a hard time with, all the excuses sometimes, like, oh, like this hurts, or I can't breathe, or I'm too old, or I'm not in good enough shape, or I can't, be who I used to be anymore, or it's cold out. So I think another thing that I have some success is because I don't make any excuses.
Mm.
I do everything I can, no matter what's going on in my life, to still stay active and physical, or, do my training. And, you know, growing old is not an excuse either. And so just, and if you don't get out there and start doing these things now, if you don't go out for that walk, or that, whatever it is, I'm not even saying running's the thing, but if it is running, getting out there and just, again, the walk, shuffle, the run, join in a 5K because it's fun. If you don't do it now, you're not going to do it. I don't believe that if you can't motivate right now when you're feeling it, it's not like when you're 70, you're going to say, I think I'm going to, pick this up now. Like I don't, because you're so used to not letting yourself do it for
Oh
some
yeah,
reason.
that's a good one. So it's almost like what do people get wrong about aging and trying to stay fit? It's kind of what been talking about, I guess. Like what do people
I
get
guess what
wrong?
people get wrong is that it doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't you don't have to compare yourself to anybody. You don't have to compare yourself to either other people your age, or what you once were, or what you're going to become. It's about doing what you can do right now, and letting go of the comparison, and just doing what feels good for you right now. And yes, it takes work. You're not going to go out there if you're not a runner, or haven't ran in a while, or you haven't been active. Yeah, you're going to get out there in the next 2 days and feel awesome, and have these really, I don't know, these fast times or whatever. Like it's still the process. It's still going to take time. And that's kind of fun too. Like enjoy the process, enjoy the goals, put this thing up ahead of you, you know, to try and reach, and for yourself. And it feels really good when you accomplish it. And then maybe you change your goal after that. But again, I would also say to people, do you even like running? Because these people that you think, like, they think, oh, I need to run and I need to do like this or that. And it's like, well, do you even like it? Is this something you want to do? Do you
Good
like, and they'll be like,
question.
not really. I just feel like it's easy. I can just put my shoe and go. I mean, but no, it kind of hurt. Like, well, then you're not going to keep it up. Go find something you enjoy doing, something active, but it doesn't have to be running, you know. But I think that is something, the first thing I ask people I coach who are all ages is, do you love to run? Is this a passion of yours? Do you keep it up? Do you run no matter what? And those answers are always yes. It's in their blood, you know? So
What happens when someone says, "No, not really?" You're like, "Oh, find another coach." Like
yeah, like,
maybe
well, I might not be the coach for you, because I can't teach you to have, you know, enjoy. I mean, I can't teach you to enjoy running or motivate you to. I mean, only you can do that for yourself. But because I like to work with more intermediate to advanced runners, I need to know they're in that place already. It's different if I was taking on a beginner, because then,
Right.
yeah, a lot of them might not know if they enjoy it or not.
Right.
But
Well, you cover the beginners when you talk to the elementary kid. That's really a beautiful introductory to it. Jen, do you have a chart behind you somewhere? All of your records currently held. If you've mentioned them a couple of times, meaning such that, I got to stay on my game. I'm going to beat my own record. Are those somewhere? Are those records all readily available to you, like right now? Their presence of mind, you know where they are? Wow. Answer, ladies and gentlemen, is yes.
I post it. um, so no, I mean, yeah, I have, no, I think they all are on scraps of paper somewhere, or it's so easy now too with online stuff or on Athlinks, I can kind of get on places and see times, or, look up stuff. But overall, yeah, they're just sort of on, pieces of paper somewhere. And even like all these awards and things, race ribbons, and it's like they don't have my times or the things I have around. They're just they're just things. But I think for the important ones, I sort of remember the times anyway, so I don't have to really write them down. But
all right,
actually,
out of all
before I
those,
came and talked to you, I had to look at some timing, like what year was it that I did this or because I don't always remember the years. It's funny how those years go quicker these days. But so I had to sort of look up my own timeline, which was sort of interesting. But
I was hoping that this, and I believe we've accomplished it. Good job, two of us. To not just dwell on times in the races because there's too many. And so I'm trying to get into understanding who you are, how you kind of think of things. And I think you've done it such a outstanding job that I really hope people who are growing older and they see, oh, look at this. This is what an elite runner looks like as they keep running and keep plugging in and showing up for themselves. And, they're anxious and they're all the things. What's the
and I
one?
think too that back to that. I mean, as I'm getting older, and I still do want to compete, and I am getting hurt more than I want. It's been a very much ebb and flow lately, and I'm getting to that point where it's really hard to be in a cycle where I get hurt and then I go out and I crush it, and then a year later I get hurt and then I get back and go out and crush it. Like, it's just like the cycle is getting tiring, or just, and there's so many things I still want to do in my later life, active wise and with family and trips and all these things that I'm not saying to as an elite runner, if I don't always even consider myself an elite runner. I'd say, I'm an elite masters or senior runner, or masters runner, but I don't know. I think I also will start evaluating again, that sort of, why do I do this? What do I want from this? Where do I go from here? And because I'd like to, as I said earlier, bow out gracefully, or not even bow out, but how do I want to proceed? And I'm hoping always that it'll be organically and not something that's forced upon me. So,
Are you recovering from something right now?
I January 2nd had a Achilles heel surgery. So it's been 12 weeks just the last Friday, and I'm just starting the little shuffles. I'm walking, and again, I've been active on stuff, but I haven't been able to really run yet. So, and the Achilles heel stuff, it was more that I've always had these protruding bones on the back of my heels. They're called Haglund deformities.
Yep.
And I had to have that bone shaved down in order for my Achilles to lay over it better, because that was getting destroyed. So it was sort of something I had to do. And I had done about 12 years ago on my other foot and had great success. So I just went for it and did the surgery. But yeah, it's been a road, but I hope to not miss too much more of a spring racing, but I probably won't be back in time for maybe more fall stuff, is my guess, in order to race the way I want to.
Right. And we know when you look up the timelines, anyone right now could Google it. How long does it take to recover from Achilles surgery? And it's not going to say 8 weeks. I'm not saying that. It's going to
I
be,
thought it was 8 weeks.
well, it's going to be 4 to 6 months
Yeah.
minimum and be blah, 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 blah. So, right. So,
Right.
okay. So that, being patient and, giving yourself some grace, knowing it's the only way you can recover, right? You got to recover.
Right.
So in the
What can I do?
meantime, what's an exciting adventure that you got planned with family or whatever that's not just running? Is there one of those that's in the future
Yeah.
coming up?
Yes. Well, one adventure is I have a daughter getting married in May, so that's going to be quite an adventure. So that's that. Um, also, but the big, like more physical, you know, my husband and I, we really have become into outdoor cycling together. It's the one thing we can do together well, because he's an open water swimmer, or just a swimmer in general. And me being the runner, like sometimes our workouts don't, or the things we can do don't mesh as well. But, hiking, walking, biking, other things do. So we're going to the Basque country, and we're doing a 7-day bike trip, a road riding trip, and then going to San Sebastian. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's in October. And again, that's another reason I did the surgery. Like I wanted to make sure I was walking well, and again, that I can travel and do some active things, too. So,
right.
So yeah. And, I have my 2 girls. One lives here, and she has 2 kids. I have 2 grandkids, and I'm always sort of active, and those are adventures in itself, being with them. So,
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, so
All right. So
life is good.
that's good. After San Sebastian, there's no doubt in my mind, 100% certain. And let me look at the age group, 65, 66. Okay. I'm 100% certain that there is an Ironman between the two of you in the future. There is no doubt. For some
A
reason,
relay.
I've talked to so many aging people, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do an Ironman." I'm like, "Oh." So once you have the first one, that's fine. It's just then you're not going to do it. But once you start to master the second element, then there's only one left. And if he's
Right.
already an
Yeah.
open water swimmer and you're riding bikes, come on, right? That's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. I hate water, so that's not going to help. I'm kidding. I
Yeah,
know, but I don't like being cold. I don't like being in it too long.
Well, yeah, you're
I
strong
don't
and
know.
fast. So you're strong and fast, and they changed all the safety rules a number of years ago, so no one's going to drown right at the start, right? Once they fix that, you're good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to push more on
Maybe.
you. You're already overly accomplished, amazing person. You are elite. Anybody who's listening to this and talking to you, seeing you speak, you really represent not only the top layers of sport and activity as we grow older, or even without growing older, but it's so relatable that we get nervous at the start line. And so you're not immune to it. In fact, I think your competitive nature says, no, this is required, right? It's a required element.
As
Okay.
long as it doesn't hold you back. Like I think it can also, freeze you and make you not as good as you could be if you're too stressed. So there's a fine line between, feeling anxious and stressed or excited about doing it versus like sometimes it gets debilitating. So I work on it, and it seems that it hasn't really affected my races when it comes down to it. But yeah, we're all human that way. So
That's for sure. Is there anything you want to remind those watching and listening to this? Anything you want to say before we say goodbye? Like, just remind us about that one thing. Like, is your why you run, is that evolving as you get older?
it's always back to just because I love it. I do. I really enjoy running. I miss it when I can't do it, and it's just something for me that it comes naturally, and it makes it brings joy to me. So I think, again, I don't know if running's for everybody, but all I can say is, with this aging thing and being the best we can be after 50, 60, any year, that you don't feel afraid to, to give things a go, or to feel like you can't do something because you're feeling too old, or, you can't do that, but just to go out and try and do your best and just do it for you of what makes you feel good. Cause I get a little, it's hard to just always hear people just, talk about, the old thing. And like, I don't even like it when people sometimes say like, can you believe she did this at, this age, or coming in strong at 60 years old? Like, why do we have to say that? Like, I'm just coming in strong, not because I'm 60, so,
It says more
I
about
would
the
encourage
person.
everybody to come in strong. That's what I
There
would
we
say.
go.
Just
It says
do
more
it.
about the person asking the question than anything, right? I saw a guy in his 60s come and finishing up a 100-mile race, and I was over 60 already at that time, and I thought, wait a minute, Mark, maybe I need to readjust how I'm thinking about these things. Look at that guy go. He doesn't want my quesadilla. He's running through that last aid station. He's making his
Yeah.
100-mile race, right? So
Uh-huh.
it says more about the person asking the question than anything. So thank you for joining us, Jenny.
Thank
This has
you.
been fantastic, uplifting, inspiring, and encouraging. Whether you know it or not, it's really encouraging. Like, look at her go. She goes through the same steps, same thing she thinks about, and she's ready to toe the line.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Cause, I feel like there's always a message that we can send to each other about all this stuff. So, anyway, I appreciate you having me on, and I hope everyone enjoyed listening or watching.
Message received, Jen. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'll see you on the streets. Okay. Bye.
All right.